Second.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Rolling Out AM, the wake-up call. I'm your host, Munson Steed. For all of you, of course, it's a still pandemic here in the United States and around the world. So we want to start with a quiet moment of silence with my team here at Cass City, Romeo International, and A.R. Shaw, all here on Rolling Out AM, the wake up call. So, just a moment of silence for all those who are definitely suffering and on the front line. Peace. So, hey, everybody, what's going on? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, guys.
Happy Friday.
Let's get it. Head to the weekend.
I tell you, finally, they say prayer works. I guess at least down in Brunswick, there was a prayer that finally, man, ooh, can you believe it? Finally, it happened. What do you say about that, A.R. Shaw?
Yeah, I think it was prayer. I think it was us mobilizing. I think it was us getting the word out, us shedding light on the situation. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more in my report, but definitely it was something that would have been buried if we wouldn't have spoken up and really just taking this thing head on, because in those small towns, you know it, like the small towns in Georgia, it's like racism is just an everyday way of life. And this was an incident that happened in February, and we're just now getting an arrest. So we definitely want to keep the pressure on, let them know that they just can't. We don't want an acquittal, because we've seen what happened with Trayvon. We've seen what happened with so many cases where the suspect has been arrested for killing an unarmed Black person. So we want to make sure that we keep the pressure on, that we get a conviction.
Super. I really enjoy that. Clearly, the idea, enjoyed the truth coming to light. I mean, I think that's a key part of this. For all of us, I think the families, more than anything, are able to at least feel some level of movement, because it obviously has been a long time. That's a long time to have no one answer for what has happened. And for me, it just brings an atrocity in terms of a word that just seems to be acceptable in society as it relates to Black life. So we definitely don't have.
I want to kind of speak to George. I know when you were in school, Maynard spoke to your class, and he talked about Atlanta being a moat, where it's like you have this city, this super Black city, but the surrounding is still a lot of racist ideas. If you could speak about what he was saying back then and how it still correlates to what's happening now.
I'm not sure that for me that was something that I remember from Maynard, and we probably need to find a couple of historians who were really there. But obviously, we were told and shared that inside Atlanta is very outside. It's a very different Atlanta, and clearly. When I was there, the missing and murdered children were happening at the same time. So, and Atlanta was a very different city. I mean, what people see today, Perry Homes, what people call the Bluff, everybody who claims and reps Atlanta, that area really doesn't walk. There's no Fair Street Bottom, a beautiful city. But Maynard clearly gave a vision that I think is still happening now. I mean, he literally said, buy the land now. He literally said, invest in the city now. There'll come a time. And former mayor of Atlanta is Maynard Jackson. Just to those who don't know, he clearly is the godfather of any city compliance program that has African-American participation in their contracting at airports around the country. It was based on his vision that we have participation. But he also described the value. And unfortunately for many people, Atlanta is transitioning. And everything that he describes about people will come back to the city that they once didn't want has happened. So I'm more afraid not that the Maynard tradition of understanding outside, but I'm now concerned with how we all, and that's around the country, advise people from Jay-Z to LeBron to come by parts of our city before the lack of Black ownership in Atlanta, particularly the SWATs, I would say Greenbrier, places that we all used to think of as Black, because the presence, the facilities that are now built in the city are not there. But, for many who don't know what SWATs is, Southwest Atlanta, ATL, is what the SWATs are. But I think the same way can be said for most parts. I would include what you're saying in many cities. I think Detroit, tons of opportunity, still affordable. South Side Chicago still has vacant land. And I think sometimes we have to think of 10 to 20-year investment. So it can't be necessarily an investment for yourself. It can be an investment for your children. And we have to think of it like that so that there's a legacy and wealth built up. So I think that's a good thing. But let's bring a historian in Atlanta. There are lots of them to introduce our community and share from around the country, because clearly we're based in the ATL, but our vision and rolling out is across the world.
Definitely.
Cass!
Yes, good morning. I think definitely, Munson, that goes back to our conversation yesterday. And we were talking about Black ownership and people attaining a certain level of success and giving back to the Black community so that we can maintain that ownership. So I think it's very important that we continue to invest in our communities so that they will always be ours, and invest in the future for our future generations.
But one of the things, I was having a conversation with Andrew Young's daughter, who's at the AFL-CIO, Andrea, and the two things that she said as it related to Maynard and Andy Amir was the fact that she clearly talked about those things that aren't together. So protests and economics seem to diverge. And so when you think about how Glenn County, who she spoke about, was actually being sued. So this actual murder that they just got arrested for is Glenn County. The AFL-CIO has sued them before because they have $700 tickets. So it's kind of the same thing with Ferguson. You have bail systems, you have large taxes, you put people in jail for that. And so they sued them. So the economic disparity of our community has to be other things that we focus on. Government entities that don't do business with African Americans, and where our dollars are and we're taxing. So we've got to bring new vision and keep the vision on that as well, because there is where the prosperity and poverty are separated. And we can't take our eyes off that. And we tend to get riled up about a murder, but they're murdering our children's futures when all businesses in our community aren't doing business with major corporations and major government entities that actually get our tax dollars. So Glenn County is known for this type.
And to add to that point real quick, I know you're going to touch on this later. Socially, rolling out AM Wake Up Morning Call, I watched Twitter last night, and socially there's a 50-50 separation. There's a lot of people who are happy with the two gentlemen being arrested, but the other half are asking for action. The other half are in fellowship, I guess that's the word, with T.I. and his statement. A lot of Black people are saying, like, we want to create action. We don't want it to be just another conviction. We want it to be swift and to the point. Or a lot of people have been socially asking for a riot in that area. So that's something to watch out for in the upcoming days.
Well, I think we got to have historical change agents. Obviously, a riot done incorrectly that's not peaceful will cause a lot of brothers and sisters to go to jail. They're not going to just let you walk into Glenn County and act as though they have no idea who you are. They won't see you coming. Conversations are monitored. So we don't want our community to fall prey or victim to not prescribing to nonviolent protests. Because oftentimes when we riot recklessly, we do it in our neighborhoods, or we do it and we ultimately harm each other. So I understand activism. I think that for everyone who wants to continue to be an activist, you know, be an activist on a regular basis, not just when this brother has been murdered, because we have lots of brothers being murdered, it seems, on a regular basis. That is not a new thing. They just got the light. You had the brother in Indianapolis. So I don't want us to, as a community, be thinking that 50% can lead us to the truth. No, we need to have truth in even how we protest so that we don't miss ourselves and misstep. Because many people plan to see young people tragically put themselves in harm's way. And that's just part of the trap. So I understand that, but I think we really need to be conscious about the disparities in our community and not get lost. It is a continuum. So I appreciate that, Romeo.
No, I definitely saw some of that on social media as far as kind of this vigilante type spirit where it's like people are saying, okay, we have these gangsters who are shooting each other, but why aren't they shooting the people who are shooting us? And I've seen that. I've seen those tweets, but you're right, Mus. I think you have to be smart about the way you go about this thing. You have to fight it through the law. You don't want to first, you don't want to lose your life. You don't want to risk actually getting convicted for something that you really didn't have anything to do with. So you're right. You have to be smart in this situation, and this isn't the time for vigilante. This isn't the time for to putting the law into your own hands, because it's only going to be a trickle down effect, and it's going to affect more lives.
But even a more cautionary tale, Romeo, and probably something you could carry, you and Cass, to a generation, is when you socially text that there should be some violence. When you socially, it's like creating a record of your behavior. So you've got to understand that people are in the system. Life is documenting your efforts. So if you're saying something violent and you're saying that that's where you are, just understand that it's also recorded and people can say it's premeditated if something happens. So you want to make sure that they can't use things against you as you are on social, acting as though it's unrecorded. And so I want to caution our young brothers and sisters not to create evidence or create situations, some who might be on probation, where people think you're agitating or even a conversation, because some people, they put you on probation and then all of a sudden they say you're not supposed to associate with somebody, and all of a sudden you're doing it through social media and they consider that conversation and commiserating with individuals who are already convicted. So we all got to be careful at this moment, because many people are monitoring and pay to monitor social behavior. And I would imagine that Glenn County would be doing that just for the safety of the citizens, let alone these two men.
Correct.
Well, I think it's just an important time to reflect on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and nonviolent forms of action and getting things done while we are waiting to get justice. It has been recorded in history the best way to go about this, to protect our people and to get action done without violence. So we don't want to insinuate people being violent. We want to be smart about how we achieve justice.
Yes, Coretta, that is right. We are so proud. You want to welcome our guest, Cass?
Yes, absolutely. So we have an awesome guest today in fashion, which I'm very excited about. Marcy Rogers. She's an award-winning costume designer. She's created wardrobe for Spike Lee's Black Klansman, which won an Academy Award, as well as his Netflix reboot of She's Gotta Have It. So we're super excited to speak with her about her inspiration, her journey, how you even get into a career like costume design, and everything that she has going on. So we're super excited to chat with her. She will be here in just a moment.
And we also have joining us, who else, Romeo?
DJ Love Juanita is in the building today, rolling out AM Wake Up. Yes, DJ Love Juanita. She's one of the top female DJs and curators for Pandora. So she's going to jump on, give us some insight about female DJs, and cut up just a little bit this morning to get us going.
Super. So it sounds like we got some great people coming together this morning, which is exciting, and all about how to increase your skill set love your community, wake up all those things inside of you. So hopefully you leave and understand that rolling out in the morning is bringing something. Go ahead, Ramir.
Oh no, it's that.
Good morning.
I'm ready. I'm hyped.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Blessed, favored, and happy to be here and a part of this rolling out experience. I've been watching you guys. I've met you guys at a couple events, and I'm excited and just happy to be here and grace my presence with you guys, and also listen to everything you guys have to say. Coretta, amazing words. Same to you. You guys are doing awesome. I'm happy to be here.
Well, hold on. Let me get you right for the AM show, because you were texting me last night. Ladies and gentlemen, live from Atlanta, she's one of the top DJs. And even though she likes spinning long hair, she's talented. DJ Love Juanita.
Hands building, man. We know your hands are tough for you. Right?
Thank you guys.
Welcome,
Thank you guys. I
welcome.
appreciate that.
So introduce yourself to the AM Wake Up Call.
Okay, hey everybody, what's up? My name is DJ Love Juanita. I am a corporate DJ here in Atlanta. What I do is I keep the old music good. I make sure that I spread all the songs I'm talking about, even from self-destruction, okay? I take music and I make it and I bring it back to where our youth can still understand that nothing is new under the sun, and this music has been made for decades. I'm tired of the millennials being slandered. They need love. So what I do is make sure that they know that they're not just them. It's been music being made since the beginning of time. So it's just my job to be a curator across these different platforms here in Atlanta, across all the way from LA to New York, and just continue to spread my music and my playlist everywhere. And so I do a lot of events, political events. I'm on the Democrat state here as a Democratic DJ here. So I do a lot of different events for politicians and stuff throughout Georgia also.
Yeah, I was arguing with a few of my friends politely when they were so enamored with a few of the DJs that have been going live. And I'm like, but they don't play enough of all the music. We're stuck. And all of a sudden they don't play any of the music from a certain region if they're not from the region. So it's so refreshing to hear the inclusion of music in the world. So I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I work
Now, where
hard
are you
doing it,
from?
I get slandered doing it a lot too, because they now, it's not a bad slander, it's a funny slander. I'll hear some of the producers like, girl, please, you're too classic for us. We're not booking you in the city. And I'm like, okay. And then that city gives me a day party and now everybody wants me. So it's funny because they come now, even young people come and they get excited to hear old Mary J. Blige songs, What's the 411? Or they get excited to hear The Temptations or Delegation or Sugar Free Matum. You know, they're like, it's a vibe for them on a Sunday. So I've built that here and I'm thankful for that. So I'm from California. I heard you say that. I'm from Sacramento, California, born and raised.
So here's my question, DJ to DJ. I know skill and you have skill. As a female DJ, do you face any adversities as far as whether it's respect from the other DJs or whether it's when it comes to your talent? Because I know a lot of females get questioned when it comes to talent.
So one thing that I stand by, I'm a mother, and one thing I stand by is being strong and sticking to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to, right? So I started DJing because my dad was a DJ, and it's easy for me. I'm in Atlanta actually, and a lot of females here do DJ without their clothes. And I get emotional throughout the summer sometime because I will put on a tank top and some shorts, you know, but those shorts are not going to be booty shorts because it doesn't go with the flow of what I'm trying to be as a leader, as a female DJ. I am taking it to a level of not just being a DJ. I want little girls to see me and be like, oh my God, I can do this. I'm not just gonna have to put a bathing suit on to go DJ. So my job, you know, I could easily, I think I'm a pretty good, my name is La Bonita. I know my daddy said I'm pretty.
La Bonita.
My body, but I don't want to do that because I want you to actually listen to my music, listening to my oratory, listen how I host, listen how I rock the party in my transitions. Don't just look at my body. So that's why it was important for me to keep hoodies on. I'm coming on someone's show, cover up. Like, it's not about that.
Right.
So,
But happy Mother's Day. I want to say happy Mother's Day.
Happy birthday to me too, because my birthday's Wednesday. So.
All right, happy birthday too, but happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, all those who have children and those who don't are mothering through teaching, mothering through nursing, mothers on the front line who are definitely at this moment giving up their lives to so many who need them, and some who don't have a choice. Some who have to go to work for their babies, and that's the only reason they're getting on the bus or they're standing there being a cashier because they have no option. So for those real warriors, for those real heroes, we love you. I'm gonna leave you and Romeo as y'all bring in a little set. If you can give us something so that we can kind of wake up.
Can you cut up a little bit? Can you cut up a little bit for me?
I can do that for you. Hold on, give me a second.
All right. Now.
Still working on my home studio, you know. I'm really, really working on my home studio, Romeo International. So
are you a DJ?
I am about as much DJ as a mannequin. I have
as a who?
Mannequin. As a mannequin in a store. I have not moved. I am here. I guess I'm probably a robot DJ because I still have not begun to spin. So I am not yet. I threaten to be all the time, but I am smart enough to understand that it is a skill set. So I talk about it. The thing for me, since I'm an author of books, and one of my dear friends just wrote a book, and I just finished a coloring book for meditation for women. So I'm on my next, I just did a whole book for women.
Oh, wow.
It's a coloring book. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay, no, I can see it clear. I went big on you. Okay.
Yeah. So, so I'm actually doing that. And then I never created a audiobook for my Love I Know. So my sequestering is more creative at this moment. So DJ skills, maybe by midsummer, I'll at least play with it, but I've got to record my audiobook. That's one of the things I've challenged myself to do. So
I'd love to connect with you on that coloring book. I can help that down. I'm in a community here with Bonita Shaw. She's one of my close friends, and her kids, she did a book for Maddie, and my daughter is actually an artist. She colors. She has me ordering coloring books on quarantine. So I would love to.
You should go to Little Professor Sky, because I've written 7 children's books. So Little Professor Sky is definitely a coloring book for all our babies. Comes with stickers. You can go to playfulgenius.co.
Okay.
So you ready to cut up?
Let's do it.
All right, La Bonita, you on the Rolling Out Wake Up call.
Yeah. DJ La Bonita.
Oh, you can turn that up. Let's go.
Better?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's trying to put me in a box. It's impossible. Or less. Oh, yeah, this time it's all or nothing. Oh, yeah. Listen, I'ma take you 10 rounds like a boxer, baby. Tell you how I put down with boxer, lady. Promise to ask you when I'm done from home. I'ma switch it up and make life comfortable. I'ma be the reason you're not sleeping, baby. I'ma invade the thoughts you keeping, maybe. If you're still not convinced, I'll tell you more. Make you forget the way you felt before. Oh, I could be your wake-up reason daily. You could be my first and leading lady. I'ma make it happen that you waited for me to set something. Oh, I'm ready and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm tired of the game, already played it. I'm over all the money girls that dated. I tell you what you are, you're my diamond girl. You're the one I put the rock on. You're my diamond girl. You're the one that I put the game for. Mic check 1, 2. I was going ahead and get it loose. If you never sick, I know what to
Think you sleep. Okay.
Mic check 1, 2.
You're in the mix with Love Juanita. Can you keep up?
Rolling out AM wake up call.
Come down, come down, some make the way, keep the love on night. All I say when I speak, things I dream of, vision so deep, and then it's got me feeling so weak. Baby, don't be shy, you'll be alright. Cause you got the tea, and I got just what you need, baby. Talking about brown, honey, honey, ain't no better. Always mix brown, give me that brown, honey, honey, not you clearing up down for brown. Give me that brown, honey, honey, ain't no better. Always mix brown, give me that brown, honey, honey, not you clearing up down for brown. First of all, I'm giving up.
Hello, what you know about that?
What you know about that?
Is it one of my crates? One time, ladies and gentlemen, we gave Love Juanita on the ones that rolling out AM wake up. Hold on, I gotta ask you a question. I gotta ask you a question. Okay, look at me like that. Bonita. Yes, they're supposed to be. So, Bonita.
Hello again. You are rolling out 8 a.m. with La Bonita. ¿Cómo está? Buenos días. Todos los gentes en el mundo. Yo soy Monson Steve. Yo soy aquí con Romeo Cassie. Hola. Buenas.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. All right. Good morning, everybody. We got DJ La Bonita, DJ Beautiful, DJ Pretty, killing it. Thank you so much.
Yo, La Bonita.
Killing it. I can believe that. Just the two of us.
He is no doubt. La Bonita. Come here. Need to talk. Come here, take it off.
Look at the sky. It's the color of love.
I need you to tell everybody.
You must have been an angel by my side.
There you go, Cass. Ooh.
All the way.
All the way.
Love Bonita. Love Bonita. Love Bonita.
One beautiful Friday groove rolling out AM. She's killing it.
Ain't no place I'd rather be.
Ain't no place I'd rather be. Right here on Rolling Out AM. I don't know what Romeo's doing. Cassidy, but she's doing with candlelight. Song. Rolling out AM.
Love Bonita.
Yeah, baby.
Damn it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Don't get me started on this morning show.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
We want to thank you for checking in with AM. Tell everybody how to stay connected to you.
All right, cool. So everything is easy with me. It's just DJ La Bonita. That's my Instagram, my Gmail, anything, any music you know. Please, I am not the no request DJ. I love music, so it doesn't stop. New music, I support new artists too. So that's just a morning set. But again, find me at DJ La Bonita anywhere.
La Bonita.
Thank you.
Te tengo buen
Thank you,
día.
thank you.
Adios.
Thank you, Miss Coretta. Bye, you guys. Enjoy your day, and I'm gonna keep watching. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Hey, Cassidy, when I tell you, once you put your headphones on and you zone out, it's over.
No, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
Gotta love it. Thanks so much. She did a phenomenal job. We really
Definitely.
loved the vibe. We loved her vibe. I think it was a wonderful treat. Great way to start. Hopefully you all are finding some. Whoa, hello.
Hi,
What's going on?
how are you?
Oh, we are phenomenal. Thanks for coming on. Cassidy, you want to invite our
Yes.
phenomenal guest who
Yes,
we
yes.
appreciate.
Absolutely. Good morning, Marcy. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. We're very excited to have you on today. We introduced you a little earlier, but please introduce yourself to everyone on the show so we can talk about costume design and everything that you do.
I am a costume designer for theater, film, TV, and opera. I recently designed an opera, I'd say a month. So
Congratulations.
Absolutely. So we just want to talk about a little your entire journey. You know, costume design for TV and film is not something that's easily accessed. People don't really know how to break into this industry. So just share a little bit about what your introduction to costume design was and how you kind of got into the industry.
sure. Let me give a disclaimer. I'm sheltered in place in Chicago at my parents' house, and my mother has a grandfather clock. So he reminds me every 15 minutes that he's here. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay.
But so my journey with costume design, I actually was working at Howard University School of Law for 8 years. And being an alumni of Howard, it kind of went from me being, you know, an undergraduate student to the admissions office at Howard University and then to the law school. And I don't know if you remember years ago when the government was furloughing everybody. So I decided that I was going to take time off and study abroad. So I actually went to Central St. Martin's in London. And I received my certificate in fashion design and marketing. And when I was there, I was reading The Alchemist, and I realized that my life had forever changed. So when I got back to America, I met my mentor, Reggie Ray. And that's really how I got into costume design, to be honest with you. He sat me down at the Starbucks on Howard University and basically asked me why. Like, why? And honestly, I didn't know, because that's not something that I would say my profession is not widely talked about. It's almost, you know, like I don't know, not a fairy tale, but it's a facade, so to speak. So Reggie took me under his wing. I'd say 6 weeks later, I was accepted to the University of Maryland's MFA program with a full scholarship, full stipend.
All
to get
right.
my
Congratulations.
MFA and
Big
costume
ups to
design.
The Alchemist. Sounds like that book had an effect on your life. What was that like?
For sure. And then that's when I really just started designing. Unfortunately, while I was in school, Reggie passed. So I inherited a lot of his shows in DC because, you know how it is. Like people will say, okay, well, if that's his mentee and we know his work, she's now putting on a level of work dedicated to him, not for myself. I wasn't doing it for myself. I was dedicating my work to him. It's kind of like the mentee mentor relationship. I tell people, I'm not representing for myself right now. I'm representing for the people who actually poured into me. And then hopefully my mentee will do the same thing. So I designed locally in DC. And then, which I'm sure is going to be a question, I met Mr. Lee at Reggie's last Broadway performance, which was Holler If You Can Hear Me on Broadway. And I just introduced myself.
Which Lee, for those who don't know?
Spike Lee. I call him Spike Lee out of respect. So that's pretty much how it went.
Definitely. Munson, you were speaking about The Alchemist, I guess, and just reading that book and how it helped you to manifest your role in becoming a designer a little bit more, if you wanted to elaborate kind of some of the gems.
I think, Cash, good thing is, one, we're in a pandemic and people, in terms of a reset. I mean, I look and I was listening and I'm thinking, it's time to design yourself. So, maybe you could share what that is for those who are trying to figure it out. Where can I find a reservoir of information that might speak to me? So I love that. And I think we're in a moment of transformation.
I do too. I mean, even now I'm reading books. I'm trying to figure out what is speaking to my soul. During the pandemic, everybody's like, sign up for classes. I signed up for like 10 classes. I finished most of them, but then it's something about me in a book where I actually write down notes and I'm writing down things to myself. So when I go back months from now, years from now, I say, wow, this is what I was thinking. This was my mindset. So at that point, I can see my growth. So I would say to anybody who's kind of stuck in between what to do and what not to do, I think one of the things that I did was manifest it. I just would literally say it over and over again. I'm going to be a costume designer. Then I went from I'm going to be a costume designer to I'm going to be Spike Lee's costume designer. And I'd said it like so many times to when the time came when I was graduating from University of Maryland, Mr. Lee reached out to the director of the program, and that's when he invited me on to design season 1 of She's Gotta Have It.
Wow. And we have some of the sketches that you've done. We can pull those up and we can just kind of talk about inspiration, kind of where you pulled from for these 2 series. Obviously, She's Gotta Have It, as well as Black Klansman, which is up first, which won an Academy Award. So if you just want to kind of take us through kind of some of these sketches that you've done and kind of the design behind them, you can definitely.
Well, this was the infamous sketch of Ron Stallworth. I remember when I approached Mr. Lee about designing for this character. And let me back up a bit. I had the pleasure of actually talking to Ron Stallworth. So he was in the room. He was in the, we had a reading. And again, I was like, okay, I'm telling this man's story. I got to figure out how to interact with him. So I walked up to him and I introduced myself. And I said, I asked him, I said, what did you used to wear when you were undercover? And he said, I would wear jewelry. And so if you go back into Black Klansman, you really pay attention to Ron Stallworth's character, there's little accoutrements that I put on him to make it look real. One thing was the Coke spoon, but that's a whole nother conversation in itself for those who lived through the 60s and 70s. But the denim, particularly for the initiation, I said, well, why does he have to wear a suit? Can he wear denim? Because he's trying to go in and out of worlds, right? He's trying to go on, I call it the other world. He's trying to go into the other world, but then he has to assimilate back into his world. So I sketched up that costume and I sourced denim in New York City and I had it made. And that costume was interesting because I saw it everywhere. Like it just became a thing. And the brown leather jacket, of course.
Definitely. And you can go on and continue to just kind of take us through some of the other sketches. This one is Patrice from Black Klansman.
So Patrice, at the end of the movie, you see her, I think there's a bit of a transformation, right? Because she's wearing black throughout. And Mr. Lee came to me and he said, I want Patrice to have color. And I didn't think it was appropriate to give her something bright, because you got to think about it. Odetta, who was her best friend, she was in those bright earth tones, or she was in those warm earth tones, you know, the oranges, the greens, and everyone else around her was in that world. So I wanted to just figure out a way where I could still keep her predominantly black, but add specks of color to kind of like create an ensemble, so to speak. So that's what that was for Patrice.
And then getting into She's Gotta Have It, Spike Lee's Netflix series. Kind of go through, I love this costume, but just kind of describe like what the inspiration was, the pieces, why you put it together in this way.
So for Oshun, that was really special because for those who've seen She's Gotta Have It, the Yoruba tradition, it started in season 1 and went through season 2. So particularly with this costume, I had to design a look for Oshun personified. In this episode, there's a mosaic of Oshun that's on the wall, that's actually still on the wall in Puerto Rico. And in the scene, you see her on the wall, and then she pretty much goes from mosaic to the goddess. And, you know, Oshun definitely had a bit of a play back during that time. You know, Beyonce definitely, she dedicated her photo shoot to Oshun. And for me, I just wanted to make sure that I made sure that she she represented the color. But I took it a little bit deeper. If you go back to the episode, you'll see that there's like a green undertone to it. So I still wanted to bring elements of the earth inside of it, and also the movement. And I would say that's probably one of my proudest moments. When I watched that episode, it was Memorial Day. I was in Brooklyn, and my family had come to visit me, and I was literally on the couch like a little kid, and I just got chills when I saw it, because to see something really go from paper to screen and feel it as a costume designer, that's priceless.
Definitely, those are the moments you work for.
Oh, there's the grandfather. He welcomes himself like every 15 minutes. Sorry, guys.
No, I think clocks are good. I mean, I think that it gives you an awareness of time and space, for sure, in Chicago. So shout outs to Chicago and houses and staying in place. So you're a great example of individuals who are continuing to stay when Georgia has decided that there is no pandemic and everybody's open for business. So.
Well, it's 39 degrees here, so I don't know how exciting that is, but yeah.
So we got one more. Go ahead.
Oh, one more sketch. Sorry about that. Oh, so this is the sketch from Tremonisha, the opera that I designed. And to be honest, it goes back to me manifesting, because I remember when I was at University of Maryland, I didn't have an opportunity to design an opera. And right after I graduated, I went straight into TV and film. So this particular director, she saw my work on Black Klansman, and she reached out to me, and she just was really excited about me being a part of the team. The special part about Tremonisha is, in my opinion, it's the first Black opera. So it's dated before Porgy and Bess. And it was written by Scott Joplin. And it doesn't get a lot of attention. And the director was adamant about us bringing this story to life. So as you can see, this particular medium that I've used to render is actually marker. So it's not, typically I design in watercolor, but just for the sake of, you know, you go from rendering to fabric to building, I just decided to change it up a bit. And I'm very excited about this project when it does come to play, because I think the world needs to see it. And a lot of people really don't know about it.
And a lot of people don't know who
Absolutely.
Scott Joplin is, so you know,
Right.
it's a whole hidden treasures that are unearthed and continue to be unearthed as we begin to look and understand our greatness that obviously you and this director will bring to life, which is often omitted. And obviously your co-creator and collaborator and Mr. Lee, you guys both are bringing brilliant light. But our costumes, how important? Because I mean, I think what you've opened up is kind of like Pandora's box for all those little Black girls who have all that magic in them and want to color and know how. And I think we don't know how important it is to be working so that people can see your genius. Can you just share as we close out, you know, how important working with a Spike Lee and then being able to be seen and then obviously have work that is recognized affects a career for a person of color?
I think it is important. I think, you know, one of the things that I learned early on is be fearless. It's funny, when I was reached out to do this interview, I was thinking to myself, what if the outcome would have been different had I approached Mr. Lee and it would have been not right now? You know, I still would have said, okay, whatever, I'm gonna do it because I was determined to do it. I've worked with Mr. Lee, but I've also worked with Steven Soderbergh, who is the director for Ocean's 11. And it was almost a shock to me when I, you know, as respect, I said, thank you so much for the opportunity. He said, we'll work together again. And I would say probably a month or so ago, I was on probably the biggest project aside from Black Klansman of my career to date. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, it was shut down. So I say that to say you have to be consistent. You definitely have to learn art. You have to want to learn art, not just be a piece of art. You have to learn how to interpret art. You have to love art. You know, art is like shedding skin. It has to flow through you. You know, you mentioned being a collaborator. I think a lot of times people say they really like my costumes because they feel real. You really have to sit down and like take a step back and take in your surroundings. You know, I went from Chicago to DC, from DC to New York. Those are like 3 different worlds. And also be willing to grow and mature in the situation, because these opportunities will come to you. You just kind of have to be ready. The name of the project is called Kill Switch with Steven Soderbergh, and it's starring Don Cheadle, and it's also starring George Clooney. So
that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a blessing.
So just one takeaway before you go, because I really want to get back to this. I haven't read it in a while, but The Alchemist, what about it affected you?
It's funny when you said that, I got chills. What affected me was the fact that he was trying to get to something, but he wouldn't stop, and he was curious. I think I would say this, as a costume designer, you also have to keep a curious mind. And nobody can teach you that. Nobody can give you that. You innately somehow or another, it just comes out of you. And I think for me, because one, I was in London. I had never been out of the country by myself. My mother called me every other day, you know, and at that time,
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Yes, she called me so much. And this is when like you couldn't even, you know, WhatsApp wasn't even a thing. So as I'm like literally going around London, I felt like the little boy. And then I stumbled across, which I'll never forget, this Dior exhibit at Harrods. For those who've been to London, Harrods is a store. I call it like a
huge store. It's huge.
Oh my God.
It's like Macy's in London, but everybody in the world comes to shop there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I saw a Christian Dior exhibit, and I saw Princess Diana's dress, unfortunately the dress she passed in. And I saw like his sketches and little baby muslin dresses. And that forever changed my life. So as I said, I'm going home and I'm reading this book. So now I'm marrying myself to the main character. And those people who told him not right now were a part of his story. So then when he did reach the end, then we did reach the end of the story, he had it all along. Right? It was inside of him the entire time. And that's what I had to realize. And I think that's what Reggie was trying to remind me of when he decided to take me under his wing. And then when Helen Huang took me under her wing at University of Maryland, she taught me art. It was an interesting road. But I will say, for those brown and Black girls, or anybody for that matter, when I started University of Maryland, I was considered the underdog because I was coming out of an educational program as related to law. But I graduated top of my class at University of Maryland, and I was the commencement speaker, and now I'm on the board of trustees. So you can do it.
Well, I'm glad you shared that with us.
Absolutely.
Here at Rolling Out AM. I think it is transformational for me to hear and to just have the opportunity to share your soul's journey, because I don't want anyone to ever imagine that we all don't need to hear and be inspired. So I'm going to take another look. I think I've read it probably 3 times, but when I read it this time, I'm going to really be the little boy. Like you said, I'm going to actually put him on and ride as him throughout the book as I read it again. So I will stay in touch. We will stay in touch. We are so proud of you.
Thank
all
you.
that you do. And let's continue to move, because we really want the community to understand all that you've shared, but to share the beauty of what you do, because we need more and more young people to understand the profession and the images behind the images that they celebrate, not just celebrate the actors, but also see what you and what's the other sister? She's obviously much more mature in the industry.
Ruth Carter.
Ruth Carter.
Ruth is one of my mentors.
Just to see more of us, period. So that we don't have that one person syndrome.
Right.
Lord knows we don't need the one person syndrome. So it's so beautiful to see all of that. So continued success and much love. And my wife is actually in Chicago right now. And I'm in Atlanta. So I understand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm celebrating the 60 degrees. Good luck to you guys over there.
Thank you.
All that you have. But it's still one of the most beautiful cities in the country. So
sure.
Thank you so much, Marcy Rogers.
Yes. Thank you.
We wish you love and peace.
Yes, stay safe. Thank you so much.
Be safe, everybody.
All right,
you too.
peace.
Take care.
Hey, this is Rolling Out AM. I am your host today, along with Cass in the City, Romeo International, A.R. Shaw. We hope you're enjoying your day. We're going to take the Cass report.
Yeah.
Hey, spark it up, Cass.
What's up, guys? Happy Friday. Hope everyone's doing well. Excited for the weekend. We have some stories here for you this morning. Quick and to the point. Some in entertainment. Princess Love and Ray J. Unfortunately, Princess Love has decided to file for divorce. We know these two from Love and Hip Hop, and we previously heard about how Ray J left Princess Love in Las Vegas while she was pregnant with her daughter. And since then, things have been a little rocky for them. We just recently heard about them not being together during this quarantine. So we'll see how this unfolds, but unfortunately, Princess Love has filed for divorce. Up next, we have a comedy special to look forward to. Great actress Yvonne Orji from HBO's Insecure has revealed she is doing a comedy special with them. And I think we have the trailer here. It's set to come out on June 6th on HBO. If we have the link, we can pull up that trailer. If not, we can just go on, but she's very funny. She's Nigerian, so the documentary kind of goes through her journey from Nigeria and her culture, and going back and kind of showing who she is and what made her who she is today.
Y'all good? Did you just come from Wakanda? What's happening?
Hold on now. I just wanted to bring you all here to my home. There is no way I could do a special about my life without showing you my life. Black girl magic. turn into green.
My parents are desperate to get me married off. The first dude to show up at my house with a goat might be the right one.
This is where you negotiate my bond price. About how much you think it will start at today?
I might just take $1.
Sophia, why $1? Am I a stripper?
My mom, she leaves me voicemails all the time. This is your mother. Time waits for nobody. You are no longer a spring chicken. Happy birthday.
When I land at the airport, when I walk through the streets of Lagos, it's like, oh my God, you're Yvonne Oji.
Yvonne Oji.
If you saw her on the street, would you recognize her?
Yeah, I recognize her.
Okay, what does she look like?
She's not that fat.
She's not that fat?
Yeah.
Okay. At least he was honest. He don't know me.
My mom, she uses every opportunity.
So I'm excited for that. It looks like it's going to be funny. You get to see a little bit about who she is and how her culture has shaped her as an actress. So I'm excited for that. Up next, the next thing I was just going to discuss quickly, luxury retailer Neiman Marcus unfortunately has filed for bankruptcy because of current pandemic that's going on, which is terribly affecting our economy. Neiman Marcus has a 113-year history. They started with their first store in Dallas. So this doesn't mean necessarily that they will close completely. They haven't announced that any stores will be closing as of right now, but we just want to keep a look on what's going on with this. As we know, many malls are still closed. People are not going out and shopping, and people are trying to save their money. So that's all for now. We have some more news coming up later in the show.
Yeah, well, shout outs to all those moms. Happy Mother's Day.
Yes.
Happy Mother's Day to everyone who has thought about being a mom, all those who are mothers in their own way, those who definitely make a difference in the lives of others. How you been? Hey, R. Shaw. Hey.
Everything's good, man. I want to talk about Yvonne Special, man. It seems like it's gonna be a you know, she's bringing in her culture, which I like. It's like she's like telling her story. I think it's gonna be something that's very unique, especially when it comes to like HBO stand-up.
Definitely.
I'm gonna have to give me a goat.
I'm not sure about that, Romeo. That's Nigeria. I'm not certain we're doing goats right now here, but we know Romeo, the romancing guy, might just go and prove to grab a goat for somebody. I'm not sure.
He'll just put a goat on the screen, like he put the flowers on the screen.
What? Bam! Cass sits. Romeo. She put it down.
I know. Don't she owe us a dance though, fellas?
No, she does not.
It's Friday. I think she owes us a dance from Monday.
No, she does not.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Bonita back. You can dance.
So Cassie, as far as what's going on in Insecure,
you jamming. I really love that. Yeah.
So it's what's happening on Insecure. I've been missing it because I've been watching The Last Dance with I'm a sports fan, so I've been missing Insecure every week.
They are during that same.
So what's
time.
happening with Insecure? Without giving too many spoilers, what's going on with Issa and?
Well, every week I'm just kind of like shocked. I'm thinking I know what's gonna happen, but honestly, Molly, who is Yvonne Orji's character, Issa Rae, they're kind of not on the same page right now. They're best friends, but they're not. It's really awkward. Like they hang out, but they're not really aligned. Molly's dating right now. She's focused on work always, but she's dating and kind of trying to balance that. Issa Rae is always trying to figure it out. She's working on this thing called the Block Party. So she's trying to balance that and figure out the highs and lows and get it off the ground. It's kind of a community thing. It's for Black businesses, community businesses. So they're not really on the same page, and it's kind of awkward. I mentioned before a couple days ago that maybe that was earlier this week that we're trying to see if Jay Ellis' character and Issa are going to get back together. Lawrence is his character. So we're trying to see if they're going to get back together. So it's kind of weird. Molly's not really feeling it. So every week is something different. We don't really know what's going to happen with them. I hope they stay friends because I love their relationship. But we don't know. We'll just have to tune in Sunday and see what's happening in the world of Insecure.
So is it kind of, does that kind of like reflect real life as far as like, you know, when you have friends and you grow up together and you kind of pull apart? Do you think it's like, is it something like realistic as far as, you know, how you kind of can grow apart when you have friends?
I think that it definitely is realistic. Life is so crazy and hectic. And when you have career, when you have relationships, sometimes your friendships kind of take a hit. Maybe your friends don't necessarily like someone that you're dating, or maybe they don't get along. But I think it's definitely very realistic. And in relationships and friendships both have ebbs and flows. So, you know, you might be best friends, but might not always be kicking it every weekend. But you still love them. You might not talk all the time, but hopefully they will work this out, because I really hope so. I love their chemistry on the show. They're hilarious.
Yeah,
definitely. And I was definitely Lawrence Hive. So
me too. Oh my gosh, me too. So I'm sitting here like, come on, Lawrence, get it together.
Good luck.
Now, I think the whole idea of her and Love and this house party is definitely, or is it an outdoor party? It feels like
it's a block party for like
so
the community business.
I think culture, they're just pushing this culture down the throats of people that have no idea that this is a thing for us, and the whole idea of Romeo DJing a block party comes alive. So I think it's an expansion of a culture to those who have not seen what it's like to be a party promoter, set up a situation. But sounds like it's cultural insight.
You know what? I think I found Munson's debut. When all of this is over, rolling out, wake up AM day party with DJ Munson Steve. I see it.
I'm not doing any parties when we come out of any pandemic, brother.
It could be a virtual.
I am all for virtual, and I just want you to understand, you just crossed the line, Cass. I am not virtual. DJing anytime soon. One thing I like to be is very proficient, but it's cool, Cass. I got you. So
no, not you. I think virtual block parties might be a thing after this.
I'm all for the block party, maybe a virtual block party. That sounds like a good thing. But I think we really should do club rolling out, so we can just go ahead and have our DJs DJing real sets on our own social. So let's think about that. You know, club rolling out on our own social sounds a lot better than Munson DJing and acting like he's really trying to pay attention when I have so much to do. But really, for me, it's all about moms right about now. For all of us, it's nice to talk about Issa, but I do think that from Michelle Obama, she definitely, big ups to her and what she has. So I would imagine many more moms, daughters, and community members will be watching that. So that's a motherly thing, given the environment. For each of you, just, what do you think Black moms mean? We'll start with you, Amir.
Man, the thing about a Black mom is that she's like, a Black mother is always going to be the honest person in your life, right? Like, she's going to tell you when you're doing right. She's going to tell you when you're doing wrong. And it's going to be there's no filter. So it's like, anytime you want an honesty test, go to a Black mom. She's going to really like let you know if you like going too left or you going too right. So that's what I appreciate about Black moms and Black women in particular. Like, Black women, they're going to tell you. Like, they're not going to let you fall off, and if you do something wrong, they're going to let you know. And that's the thing I like about Black women and Black moms.
Romeo?
I think of Black moms as sisters with superpowers, because I've never met a Black mother from my mother. Even if I met Amir's mother, Cassidy's mother, I met your mom, they always have an answer. No matter what it is, they have an answer for every problem, issue, what's going on, why the sky is blue. And I just love that experience where I can actually go to my mom and say, hey, this is happening. And she'll say, put some Mercurochrome on it and go lay down or something. So I just love that.
Yeah, I think though that moms probably don't get as much thanks as they should. They sacrifice more than we ever know to be a mom. I think the hardship for even those who are moms and desire to be moms, and that's has happened. Just the emotion of being a mom and the unconditional love that they're able to give. And then I think authors and many movies have shown broken moms that don't know how to love. I think you hear a lot more pastors talking about, abuse in that area, and how people who aren't prepared or never did get the right lesson. So for some people, they have got happy feelings. Other people, they need to forgive themselves and move on because they might have gotten the broken mom. So I think that's it. Amir, you got a great report today. So why don't you bring us up, and once again, happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day.
Yes,
we're going to get into
happy
some
Mother's
hard
Day.
news, though, because last night, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation decided to finally arrest Gregory and Travis McMichael in the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery. If you know, we've been following this case for at least a couple of weeks, and these are the two guys who basically stalked Ahmaud, and he was basically jogging. He was jogging pretty much through a neighborhood, and these guys cornered him and basically shot him down like he was an animal. And this happened in February. So the thing is this, we have actual footage of Travis McMichael being arrested. If we can play that. So as you can see, this is a whole this thing pretty much kind of jumped off on social media last night. They were actually going to wait until June to bring a grand jury to see if they would be indicted, which is crazy. And so, just want to get you guys' thoughts on this. I know we talked about it earlier. If we can kind of dig deeper into this situation as far as what this arrest means for our community and what should we do moving forward.
Well, I think we were literally just talking about this yesterday. We had attorney Ben Crump on, and he was discussing this case specifically. And we were just talking about using our voices and mobilizing together. And like we were talking about yesterday, social media was flooded with pictures of Ahmaud literally making this thing seen on social, getting the word out about what happened to him. And it was our community's fight for justice. So I couldn't even believe hours later after we'd had that conversation that we got, they were arrested. And I think it's important. This is a step one. We still need a conviction, but this is a big step because like you said, this happened in February and it's now May. So I think it was long overdue, but the fight is not over.
Definitely. And so we want to go into Ben Crump's statement. We actually got, like you said earlier, like I said yesterday, Cass, we actually got a chance to speak with Ben Crump, and he gave us a great interview. And so yesterday, after the arrest, he sent me this statement. It says, "It's outrageous that it has taken more than 2 months for Ahmaud Arbery's executioners to be arrested, but better late than never. This is the first step of justice. This murderous father and son duo took the law into their own hands. It's a travesty of justice that they enjoyed their freedom for 74 days after taking the life of a young Black man who was simply jogging. Yet tomorrow, on Ahmaud's birthday, and I want to give a shout out to Ahmaud because today is his birthday, his parents are denied the simple joy of celebrating their son." So down in Brunswick, Georgia is where everything is unfolding. Today, they're going to actually have a press conference, which is probably going on right now, to discuss the arrest of Gregory and Travis McMichael. And they're also going to have a rally following the press conference. You have different groups, different organizations, the NAACP. They're going to be marching down, have a rally down there in Brunswick today to talk about the steps moving forward and what should we do moving forward with this case. So Munson, just getting your thoughts on this whole thing. how it all transpired, how it all unfolded. Of course, we spoke with Ben Crump yesterday, and to see this arrest pretty much the same day that we spoke to Ben Crump. What are your thoughts?
I have a ton of thoughts. Obviously, like most, it's a first step that is obviously very delayed. You clearly want to and hope that there isn't a plot that is already written, a system that will allow for justice, because now we want justice, and that, when I shared my conversation yesterday with Andrea Young, and she talked about the fact that some of these district attorneys down there have already had to pull themselves off the case. Yeah. So, the relationships are very deep down there. So it is on the prosecutor who we now need to make sure that we're putting enough focus on and remind the prosecutor, because now that's a step. We want a prosecutor who wants a conviction. We want a prosecutor who is going to be clear, fair, non-biased, and really take this case and focus on a win and a conviction. So it's in the prosecutor's hands. I think it's really important for our community to also showcase intelligence in our actions, making sure that we are informing our community to think about the fact that we need to remind the prosecutor, we need to remind all of Glenn County, all of those Brunswick citizens, that Brunswick is a murder capital right now, that they are the murder capital. Let us not say that it's Blood City. There is blood on the name of Brunswick now, and there's nothing to be proud of. There's nothing to be proud of at this moment. So they should be ashamed that they did not manage or even have the moral fabric to actually address this heinous and hateful hate crime that they perpetrated on this young man. So when you ask me, I just want all of us to continue and remain intelligent about our discussion, Amir, of this. This is not a moment in time. This is a continuation of something that is being flamed and fan flames by people who want to have systematic racism continue, systematic oppression continue, and this vigilante stand up against the community. But there should be a shameful shadow on those people from Brunswick. And we have to say that, where are you Brunswick citizens? Where are you Glenn County residents? And then you got to ask even that African-American community down there to be more vocal. Let's all be connected. Obviously, we weren't as connected as we thought we were. Obviously, social media didn't mean justice for over 2.5 months. So we can't even say that our ability to deliver information about our community right now is timely. We have to look at ourselves. This also caused us to pause and not be so arrogant on our social media about who we think we are. We missed this. And I'm saying that from rolling out and apologizing to the family. We missed this. For people who post and think you got so many followers, but you missed this. We obviously missed it as a community. So there's probably a lot more every day that we're missing in celebrating and going live. So when you ask me questions like that, I'm not pondering on whether this is it. I think there's a lot when you think of Indianapolis. So when you say that, I'm thinking, oh, here's another dot. I think there's connect the dots. And I think there's a connect the dots that maybe we shouldn't all just be going live, acting like nothing's happening in our community when young brothers are losing their lives. So if you're using your social all the time just to be social, it's so childish. And nobody wants to say it. Everybody wants to remove themselves from being responsible. And yet you could die. You could be the next person, literally. And then all of a sudden, Indianapolis happens. So it's not new, I guess. Yes. I'm sharing with you, Amir. And I think that we missed it as a community. So we've got to own our our debt to that family. We got to own the fact that we may be a little too relaxed in what is the truth about the situation and the conditions of our community. I think that's a problem.
It's interesting that you guys bring up community and the effect of it. So I wasn't going to bring this up, but yesterday I got really depressed and sad because out of nowhere, in my family group text, my aunts and my uncles started texting my mother saying, "Hey, tell Romeo to be safe when he runs." Now, keep in mind, they've never done that before. And you guys know I run, I'm an advocate about health and I run. And I had to think for a second, to put myself in that young man's shoes. What is the effect if somebody called my Rolling Out family? Like if somebody called my Rolling Out family and said, "Hey, Romeo's gone." And how did he die? He died from running. You're talking about something he does every day. Talking about something he does every day. And you know, we live in a multicultural type of community. And it just really made me think what you just said, Munson, about how it affects community, family, and generations, because my family from far away was so concerned to text my mother I think it was like 8 to 11 texts saying, hey, tell him to be safe when he runs. Is that what it's become now? Like,
I think the point that you're making is the point that I'm working to bring together. There is far too much relaxed conversation, like nothing's going on inside our community. And I think that some of it obviously is intentional. I think when we just want to turn up so much and yet there's oppression, it's kind of like you don't want to have everybody crying, but many people are relaxed and aren't noticed. And then you say we live in these communities. I think some of us live in these communities. I don't think everybody lives in the community he was running through. I think we think that there's freedom and that every neighborhood that you run in that doesn't look like you or has a member from another community doesn't invite you in. There's nothing new with this, Romeo. I think everybody's gotten too relaxed. They're not your friends. Just because you work with them doesn't necessarily make their friend. Just because you live in the same neighborhood. But I think there's a thing inside our heads that we say we're free. Well, we have seen, we have heard. This is not the first where our rights are taken by individuals who look at us like our value is less. And so I think the conversation that your family was reaching out is to say, hey, Romeo, do not be unaware of your circumstances and surroundings. Hey, Romeo, don't believe that you cannot be killed. Hey, Romeo, there's a group of people whose intentions are to do you harm. So I don't think consciously that young brother was running and ever imagined that that would be his fate. And I think there are far too many special individuals in our community who keep acting as though this is new until we bring it to the announcement. The fact that there are hundreds and thousands of brothers and sisters locked up over 62, getting COVID every day, and the entire system knows that it's taking place. The entire system now knows that it's taking place, Romeo. So not only are we worried about you running, we're worried about people who are now paying a price for being in a place, in a space that people could let them go. They could put them on house arrest, save the taxpayers money, but it's not happening.
Definitely. And I want to kind of move on to kind of take a sports angle on this. So LeBron, he tweeted out yesterday, pretty much giving his praying respect to Ahmaud Arbery and his family. He said, we're literally hunted every day, every time we step foot outside the comfort of our homes. Can't even go for a damn jog, man, which you pretty much were saying, Romeo. He's like what, WTF, man, are you kidding? No, for real, are you kidding me? I'm sorry, Ahmaud, rest in paradise. And so, you know, of course, LeBron, he got a lot of praise for speaking out And it's kind of interesting because we have all this thing what's happening with the Michael Jordan documentary, people bringing back, his statement about Republicans buy sneakers and if he did enough for the Black community while he was playing. Jason Whitlock, who is a sports reporter, he's pretty much an agitator. He kind of caught heat because he went after LeBron. He said LeBron is the Pied Piper for a lot of athletes. If the goal is to promote justice for Ahmaud Arbery, LeBron's rhetoric doesn't promote justice. It promotes emotion and fear, the enemies of justice. We can continue to promote emotion and fear, or we can seek justice. And so Jason Whitlock, he pretty much got it, on social media yesterday. I'm not sure if you guys got a chance to see it, but he was trending. And one person on social media wrote, Dr. Jason Johnson. He said, like clockwork, you can trust Jason Whitlock to be more outraged by athletes calling out racism than he is by actual acts of racist violence. And so they kind of bring us back to the point as far as like athletes speaking out when it comes to like police brutality, when it comes to things that are affecting the Black community. We spoke about this like a couple of days ago. Like, is it important for the Black athlete or Black celebrities to speak out when injustices happen? I know when we had Muhammad Ali, we had Jim Brown, and then the 80s occurred, and then it seems like everybody was silent. Nobody wanted to say anything about what was happening in the community. We didn't hear much from Jordan. We didn't hear much from Bo Jackson. We didn't hear much from even Deion, which is somebody who I really love and respect. And now fast forward, you have guys like LeBron who's speaking out. And so again, I pretty much pose that question: should we really, Black athletes or Black celebrities speak out when it comes to injustices? Because I think with this case specifically, having a tweet from LeBron, having a tweet from even a Kim Kardashian, that pretty much got tire rolling from a social media standpoint, and it got people to pay attention to this case. So that's my question to the panel is like, should we really should we want our celebrities to speak out when there's injustice in the Black community?
I think so. I definitely think they should speak out. I think if you have a platform, you should use it responsibly. And if you know that there's something that's wrong and unjust, that you should use your platform to, you have a large following. So the more eyes that see what you post, if you're trying to do something impactful, the more attention it's going to get. Like you said, this became a national story. And that's what got made this arrest happen.
Romeo?
I think I'm 50-50 only because I think if I have to think about the Black athlete, I have to separate the ones who are winning and the ones who are sustaining. I think LeBron has the ability to speak because it doesn't affect his capital. I think others who have sponsors are scared to speak because they still are tied to those big corporations. So it's kind of like, do I say my voice and lose my livelihood, or do I just speak my truth? So it's kind of a 50-50 with me.
Well, I think you got a guest holding, and I think we can kind of close out when we do that. Good morning to Joshua. Hey, welcome to the morning show, Rolling Out AM. Gonna be bringing you on shortly. Real hanging out with us. We appreciate it. J1 is my man, a great young professional who merges both talent and music. So I want to welcome J1 to Rolling Out AM. What's going on, man? How are you?
This morning, I'm good. How y'all doing?
We're good.
Good.
Jay.
Good to see y'all.
What's going on, man? What's top of the chart? Tell us, bring us in. We need to know what's really going on.
Well, Friday is usually New Music Friday, but ever since the pandemic started, artists have just been releasing music kind of all over the place because people's normal listening habits are kind of all over the place. So what I do on New Music Friday, I do a segment where I put on my socials and I give my top 3 picks and then some sort of sleeper pick. So y'all ready for it?
We're ready, bro.
All right, no doubt. So number 1, Chris Brown and Young Thug, they dropped a project earlier this week called Slime and B. And it shocked a lot of us because it kind of came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, we saw Chris Brown post something on his socials that this was coming out, and it dropped on Tuesday. And the song that stood out for me was called "She Bumped Her Head" featuring Gunna. I've always been a Gunna fan, but the project is definitely solid. My second pick comes from Moneybagg Yo. I'm a huge Moneybagg Yo fan. He could do no wrong in my eyes. But the song is called "Me Versus Me," and he's actually doing a deluxe version of his project next week, which is going to have additional songs. So I'm definitely excited about that. You should check for that. My third pick comes from Chi-Town's own Lil Durk. If you know anything about the Midwest, Durk is basically like the guy out there. Everybody loves Durk. You know, when I talk to most rappers from Chicago, they always name Durk in their top 5 rappers from Chi-Town. And he dropped his project just because y'all waited too. And he's got a crazy song with him, Lil Baby, and Polo G. It's called "Three-Headed Goat." Another solid project you need to check out. And my sleeper pick kind of went the R&B route, even though like my title is head of hip hop at Pandora. Kalani, she dropped a project called "It Was Good Until It Wasn't." I'm sure a lot of women could relate to that. And the song that I'm definitely checking for is "Can I" featuring Tory Lanez. I'm a big Tory Lanez fan, but they just really sound good together. And those are my picks for New Music Friday.
Super, bro. I mean, I think the whole idea right now is that everything is under consideration because you got a lot of picks, you got a lot going on. But what do you think the future of music and dropping music on Fridays and dropping all kinds of singles and people being now can collaborate with music without being in the studio together?
I mean, you know, they always been doing that as far as collaborations. People would send you a track and people would send it back. But I've been having a lot of conversations since this pandemic started with different artists and executives and just interviewing them on my Instagram and stuff. And a lot of them, the common theme that I'm seeing is a lot of them know that they're going to have to adjust. Those big shows and festivals, we don't know when they're coming back. That's probably going to be the last thing that comes back is huge crowds of whether it's 2,000 people to 20,000 people. So yeah, I realize that's how a lot of artists were making their money. Yeah, they get their streaming check, but you know, a lot of that either depending on their deal goes to their publishing, the distribution company, the label, or whoever. So the artist might be the last person to get paid off of that. So a lot of them rely on that show money, the club money, the appearance money, and they're not getting that right now. So now it's really just a time for them to figure out what does the new normal look like? How do I make that extra income? And frankly, you know, it may never come back. I was talking with one executive who's talking with some of these major concert promoters, and they said, yeah, even when things do open up, let's say a year from now, they've probably lost about a good 25 to 40% of their crowd because those folks just might not come back because they don't feel comfortable in a large group of people. And who could blame them? I mean, I'm kind of thinking the same way. I'm not big on vaccines or anything like that. I don't know if I want to be in a concert crunched up next to people I don't know, and I don't know what they got. So it's gonna be interesting, man. I think it's just gonna the people that really adjust and get used to this new world that we live in are the ones that are gonna thrive. You see people doing virtual concerts, virtual shows, trying to partner with more brands. I think that's gonna be the route that a lot of artists take.
Now, you mentioned that I was with, you know, I'm a producer and write music. And we weren't just sending tracks, Jay. We were actually in the studio.
Right.
My producer was in the studio and we were Zooming. So we weren't just sending the tracks. We were actually in the studio. You could see it. So even now, technology is expanded. You know, you don't just have to see the track. You can put it in. Everybody is really in real time making it. How is that going to, maybe that's a place for people to actually make it as they are entering the room or can have access to them as they're actually singing in the studio. So
yeah,
that's the expansion.
I mean, definitely, you definitely see more artists collaborating digitally. I mean, they have to, whether it's doing a Zoom link like what you were talking about, Munson, but you know, also connecting more with their fans.
Right.
You're seeing more artists get on live. You're seeing them do more interviews because again, they have to have that interaction. They got to touch their fan base. They got to touch the people. So instead of being able to do a show or do a radio run, they're doing things like, virtual meetings or going live a lot, figuring out virtual concerts and stuff. Travis Scott, I mean, he did something with Fortnite and set a record for the most amount of viewers. You got a bunch of people doing stuff on Twitch now. So
Yep.
It's a time where people again are figuring stuff out, and figuring out the technology. Technology is always evolving at a rapid pace, and with that, you gotta the litigation or the monetization is going to come after that, because technology is always moving faster ahead of the law. And that's essentially what happened with streaming. Streaming had been out for a long time. It just wasn't until maybe about 5 to 7 years ago that we figured out how to monetize it, and it started pumping money back into the labels and artists' pockets. So it's an interesting time. I mean, I for one hope that it's over, because I don't want to see people getting sick and people out of work and just the turmoil that it's caused. But at the same time, it's causing a lot of people to be creative and innovative and figuring out new ways to do things that will probably stick around regardless of if we get a vaccine or the virus goes away.
J1.
Go ahead, Romeo.
J1.
Yo, what up?
You and me, we DJ'd the clubs.
Yes.
We DJ'd concerts. And watching something you spoke about technology and watching the new verses, Timbaland, Swiss Beats, and what they're creating. And they've created something where it's more people there than at an actual concert.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think that stays? Do you think that overlaps? Like you said, people don't want to be out. You don't want to be out at the concert.
Right.
Do you think that actually overlaps the actual, hey, instead of booking this artist for a concert, I might as well just book this artist for a virtual concert and still get more volume?
Well, it's a couple of things with that. Yes, you're right. They're getting a large base or a large listenership for that particular time. But, most artists, they do some sort of tour. So they might be doing a 20 to 30 city tour, and they're getting a check or money in each one of those cities. Once you do that versus, or once you do that virtual show, unless you switch it up or you putting out new music, how many more people are going to come back and watch that same show again? So yeah, you might get more people for that one particular show, but it's like, unless you figure out how to monetize it and bring as many people in as you would have on an actual tour, then that's where the discrepancy is going to be. And then on the flip side, you got to train your audience, because there are people who will pay maybe $150, $200 to get a prime seat for a concert, or either even $50 to be up in the bleachers somewhere because they want that live experience, but might not give that same amount of money or even less to see somebody perform on the screen when you could just go to YouTube. So it's going to be a retraining, not only for the artists and the production companies, but it's going to be training for the listeners and the fans as well. So again, it's an adjustment period for everybody. So it definitely is going to be the direction that they're going. Now, I have seen some brands actually sponsor virtual shows. So Jack Daniels sponsored a virtual show that Rotimi did. So I think you're going to probably see more of those. You'll probably see more intimate shows with a lot of sponsorships and visibility, where you may have only 50 to 100 people in there. And I
saw Danny Lay take over.
And you work it out like that.
I saw Danny Lay take over Reebok.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually am working with Pandora. We're doing a podcast for brands, and I'm bringing artists on to just talk about like the effects that the virus has had on them from a financial standpoint and even a mental standpoint, and how they could work with brands as far as like supplementing that income, because brands are kind of messed up too. They're trying to figure out like different ways to get their product out there. So you have two needs. So we're trying to bring the artists and the brands together, and hopefully that, you know, each one of them could get their point across. The artists could get some money back, and the artist and the brands could get their message out there.
Yeah, scale is a critical component with that. I mean, obviously, brands at some point are going to want to be able to figure out scale, because at least in an arena, you know how many tickets are sold, you know how many people are in there. You know, not being able to make those projections will really make some marketers at some point lose their job. So the rationale right now is going to be real difficult, because now you really got to justify why you paid 20 grand to touch 100 people. So I think the challenge for all of us is scale. I mean, scale even getting people to go to test drive a car. So I think the new normal is, did that move a product? Well, then why would you do that? And I think there's going to be a lot of challenge, because I think a lot of people aren't going to waste money. And I think it's going to cost a lot of people in their creative voices, not only staying connected, but some of it was just not real. And so if you don't have, if you're not high enough in the balloon, I'm suggesting to everybody, figure out how to survive. I think you really have to figure out, as a principle right now, as it relates to business, survival. Because this is going to be not only the new normal, but it's an adjustment period. You know, people aren't using the right terms and sharing insights to people. Look, it's an adjustment. You've got to adjust. Like the guy said, well, what are you doing? Survive. It's a war. There's a virus trying to kill you. You've got a war going on that you can't see. You got to survive. And I think that if we don't take that on and think about that, many people are going to lose, because they're hoping it just comes right back. Nobody's looking for that. None of the individuals that have a liability. Nobody wants to be liable for having 20 people in a stadium and 1,000 people infected. That's not going to happen. Nobody's risk manager is going to suggest that. So I think that, you know, our community, and particularly entertainers, got to figure out, what's my adjustment, because it's not coming back.
Real.
Definitely. I want to talk about your, you know, the Pandora series that you guys used to have. I used to enjoy the live series where you speak to artists and get a chance to hear some of their new music. How will you guys, I guess, transfer that virtually in a way where people can still have that same experience?
So I've been doing a bunch of Instagram live conversations on my personal page. And it's funny because, like, I was thinking the exact same thing. We had so much momentum before everything got shut down. But like Munzer said, we want to be conscious of people's safety. So we actually ended our stuff early before everything else got shut down, before the NBA, before social distancing and all that, because again, we looked at it from a health safety standpoint and a liability standpoint. So what I decided to do was start doing these conversations on IG Live with different artists. And the funny thing is, it's like between June and February, when we started doing the playback series, we did about 27 of them. Now, because of technology and artists aren't moving around, I've damn near doubled that as far as the amount of artists that I've been able to have conversations with. Again, it's nothing compared to the live thing, but Munzer was talking about adjustments. So I'm making adjustments too. The artists are making adjustments. And it's actually easier to get artists to do stuff now because they're not moving around and they're not in front of a bunch of people. So I've been getting a lot of requests to have meaningful conversations. I mean, if you've been to some, we don't really get into the whole gossip or messiness. It's more of a constructive conversation. And a lot of the things that I'm talking about with the artists now, I call it the making plays convo, is we talk about what plays you were making before the pandemic started, like what you're doing now, how you're adjusting, and what you're going to do once everything is over. And, some artists are better off than others because they had other stuff going on. I had the privilege of talking to Cameron the other day, and he was talking about how he'd been had masks. He was making masks for Ebola. He had a mask line when the Ebola virus came on. And he was like, it didn't get as crazy as people thought it did, but that's where his thinking was. And he was talking about developing a toilet paper line back in the fall.
I remember that. Yeah.
And now he's actually working on a soap brand. So his mindset is, I'm making essential businesses, stuff that you'll always need no matter what's going on. Whether it's soap, toilet paper. He said people, you can get by without having a car, you can get by without having jewelry, but everybody needs toilet paper, everybody needs soap. So things like that, how artists are really adjusting. And some artists, frankly, they're just sitting there waiting, and I could tell that they're nervous that these shows might not come back, because a lot of them live show to show. So it's been very interesting to see different people's reactions, how they're dealing with it. Some artists are actually enjoying the break because they're spending more time with their families. I was talking to one person who's like a manager, and he was saying that he has to help his artists mentally, and I didn't even really think about the mental aspect of artists. We always think about the financial stuff that they're missing out on these shows, but a lot of these guys, they're used to being around a bunch of people. They're used to moving around. They're used to performing in front of 2,000 to 20,000 people. And then for all of a sudden, for that to be taken away, that could mess up a lot of people's minds, and not knowing, and not even being in control, and not knowing when that's going to come back. That can mess with people's psyche. So it's definitely a lot, man. But just to answer your question, sorry I got off track. But I've been doing a lot of stuff virtually and digitally, and working with the company to figure out how we do, live shows and stuff like that. Because again, the company's in a space that they've never been in, so they're trying to figure stuff out and pivot.
Yep.
I think it's phenomenal. I'm always proud of you. I think you're a great example for our community to see how music, writing, technology all merges. So continue to be a bright light in our community, so that young brothers can see that you can enjoy this music and get paid and be an executive at the same time, Jay. So for me, that's why I'm always happy to understand and see that the next generation is pulling up the torch and breaking down the doors, because I know it's not easy, even in a technological style company, and that hasn't had a whole bunch of diversity, for you to be over there. So big ups to making a difference and keeping the culture growing at Pandora. We want to thank you for coming on Sunday. I got to catch up with you real soon. But,
yes, definitely.
Always proud of what you do. So stay committed. I'm really more nervous, in addition to all those people that eat off that artist tree.
Yeah,
so,
that's big too.
Follow them. The caterers that were beginning to make a movement in that area, the stylist, so I want you to know that for all of those people, we got to keep them in our prayers too, because they ate off that brand.
Yeah.
And many of those guys had crews that were big as 20, 100 people. And so that front money that the promoter puts in the checking account feeds many in our community who were definitely music professionals, not just managers, but the whole road security work. So for all those that don't see those people, they see one artist, they might be feeding another 20 to 100 people. So
yeah, it's affecting a lot of people. It definitely is. So my thoughts and prayers go out to them, the nightlife people, like the DJs, security, like you mentioned, bartenders. A lot of them aren't set up as LLCs or haven't filed taxes, so they didn't get a stimulus check
or a PPP check.
Right, exactly. So it's just, my heart and prayers go out to a lot of people. So I'm hoping this is over soon. But it's like you said, we have to figure it out, because we're not in control of this.
Right.
And we can either sit around and dwell on it, or we can make moves to counteract it and not only survive but thrive.
Right. Super. Thanks. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for having me on.
Rolling out AM. Proud of you, J1. Keep it coming, and we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Everybody, come on now. It's your turn for Romeo International.
I want the hard drive, J1.
Okay. No doubt, bro. Take it easy, y'all.
Romeo International, man, rolling out Wake Up Call AM. Before we get out of here today, I want to give y'all some quick music news. But first, we're going to start with this special run that's going on this weekend that I will be participating in. It's the Run, Walk, Jog, 2.23 miles. That's going on today for Ahmad. It's just his birthday. The family, his friends are asking people to be active today and just walk or run 2.23 miles. Those are the miles that he apparently had finished before his life was taken. So I will be participating today for Run International and for Rolling Out. If you want to participate and support Rolling Out, go to promotions at Steve Media and you can purchase your University shirt right now for $30. And also, we're going to be giving away Nike gift cards beginning next week. So remember that run today. And on a lighter note, to have some fun. So the social media, y'all know social media is a beast. They decided to have fun with Steve Harvey and put Steve Harvey's face on the body of Megan Thee Stallion. And I caught the video. And
it's a little more chill, but it's still wrong. It's a little more chill, hey, but it's still wrong. Big booty, big old tree. I'ma make him wait for the hit it till he big old.
Yes,
it's a little more chill, but it's still raunchy. Hey, big old freak, big booty, big old tree. I'ma make him wait for the hit it till he big old.
Now the funny thing about this is Steve Harvey actually replied and he said that he never looked so good and was never so praised. So shout out to Steve Harvey. Shout out to, I don't know who's making these memes, y'all, but they are good, whoever's making these memes every week. And shout out to Megan Thee Stallion, man, and Beyonce with their #1 single, Savage.
Super, super, super. That's an exciting time. I think that everybody's working to keep a smile on the face. Happy Mother's Day from Rolling Out AM, the wake-up call to all those mothers out there. We want to thank you for all that you do, all those who mother through what they do. We also want to say shout out to you and the fact that we love you very, 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 very much. So it's that moment. You had asked a few questions there, Amir. So we want to close it out in a positive way. So we want to spend a little bit more time thinking of the positive thoughts that we bring on this special Mother's Day weekend. Also, we want to be sure there's a Rolling Out music list they want somebody to give.
The Rolling Out music list you guys will see posted today on rollingout.com. Make sure you go subscribe to rollingout.com where you can get your Rolling Out music playlist along with every topic we talked about today.
Ooh, well, I got to add something to the playlist. Cass in the City. I need a new song to listen to other than the #1 song by somebody who hadn't been paid. I am definitely going to run this 2.3 miles with a little bit of our whole contingent and my favorite artist of the day. And we all know who that is. Of course, it's Frank Ocean today. It'll be a big thing. And then I'll actually go to Aretha, the mother of soul, and have that. So love it. What's going on with you, Amir?
So I want to before we wrap it up, I want to talk about the versus battle. It's tomorrow. Erykah Badu, Jill Scott. I have some video, so they did a unique thing to kind of promote this battle. If we can pull it up.
Smile on my face. Do I really want my baby? Rather tell me what to do. Took a shower, dressed, cleaned up my place. I understand the game sometimes. Hey now, is it the way you love me, baby? Wow, they're gonna do when they come for you. Working honest, but it pays the bills. Working I know you got to get your hustle on, so I pray you love me, baby. Hey now.
Hey!
So as you can see, they basically covered each other's songs, and I'm hyped, man. So I got my incense, you know, I'm in my chill mode this weekend. Erica, Jill, it's going down. I want everybody to get the incense, get that vibe going.
Happy Mother's Day to Erica, and obviously Jill, big moms, big mothers of soul, big mothers of ideas, big mothers of freedom.
Team Jill still. Team Jill this weekend.
I'm Team Erica, but again, it's gonna be a celebration of Black womanhood,
I'm
Black
team
power.
Sisterhood. I'm team sisterhood. team creative. You know, I don't think there's a battle going on. If anything, they're illustrating how collaboration and sisterhood, not to put anybody down. They're not versus each other, even though that's what it is. It's a collaboration of creativity. So versus the universe. Erykah Badu, Jill Scott versus the universe, versus oppressors, versus everyone. Don't you know?
So again, that's this weekend. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. is going down. IG Live. We definitely gonna be we're gonna definitely have some live interactions that rolling out on our social media pages. So definitely follow us on that.
Like everybody else now does. They're gonna turn around their cameras and stream it back to those that don't know. So we definitely not gonna be just watching. We're gonna be streaming it like everybody else. So gotta figure that out. Let's go to our positive thoughts of the day. That was great, Amir Shah.
Yes, sir.
Catching that up. Thought of the day. I know you got it. They got to be in it. Here they come. Everybody, you're watching Rolling Out AM, the wake up call. This is the time that we give positive thoughts of the day to take you on your journey and say thanks for watching. Hey, Romeo International.
My thought of the day is think before you do. As Amir stated, Cassidy stated, Mr. Steve stated earlier, and coming from myself, we know everybody is at home. There's a pandemic and you're upset about what's going on in the world, but think before you act. Amir?
All right. So I'm gonna go back to my one of my favorite authors of all time, James Baldwin. His quote is not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. And it just pretty much kind of sums up this entire week as far as us facing what was happening down in South Georgia, making sure that we hit that head on, and then still facing what's happening with this pandemic and what we're going to do moving forward, personally and professionally. So shout out to James Baldwin, definitely one of my favorite authors.
My turn?
Yeah, I thought Amir was going to throw it to you, and Romeo threw it to him. I thought
here we go. Here's the pass.
Yeah, I obviously, here you go, Cass. Cass in the city, positive.
I got it.
Got it.
Positive thought of the day. So as we know, this weekend is Mother's Day. It's very atypical. We're not going to be able to be around a lot of our family members, some of our grandmothers, because they're elderly. We're not going to be able to go out to church. We're not going to be able to go to dinner. So I think it's important to celebrate in some way. Be creative, make your mother feel special in a creative way. You may not be able to get her the gift that you typically do, take her to dinner, but there is some way that you can make her feel special during this time. So make sure you take the time to do that. Be creative.
Well, that was great, Cass. Definitely agree. So for me, the positive thought is one, thank you. Thank you to all those who have birthed ideas that they've given to this community, your idea, your trust, your abundance of wealth, that we're able to listen to music, we're able to read books. All those are mothers of creativity. I want to thank God that many of us are here just today and able to be thankful that we're safe. And I want to ask for all the prayers and for those who are not able to have the privilege of being and working from home, and that will face the indignity from being at a place where they're not loved and have to go and endure. We want to say thanks to all those doctors and nurses and individuals who are on the front line during Mother's Day, who will not have a day off, who will not be able to relax. So, for me, it's always a lot about thanks right now, because not only are you the mother of hope for those who are sick, you're the mother of hope for those who are depending on you to share that cell phone video. Otherwise, they will not be able to see their loved ones. So thanks to you. Thanks to the bus driver who is taking someone to work, who had to leave his family, risk his life, and lose his life to go. Thanks to the firefighters, thanks to the police chiefs, thanks to the scientists that are working and are trying to birth and bring new life and save lives right now. And to all those first liners that we haven't said thanks to the psychiatrists and obviously the pastors that are having to shepherd their whole congregations through virtual means, who are having to reach out. So we just want to make sure that all of us remember to thank somebody. And I think the gift of thanks for many is just a call. Remember that thanks is just a touch. You can't always go to the store, but just remember to thank those moms. Maybe go by a homeless shelter and drop off something to those who don't have it. All of us probably have enough shoes. We definitely have enough of something. So think of those mothers. If not, think of the mothers that are actually entrepreneurs, those women who actually have restaurants that are open. If that's the case, then order something from them. Think about those mothers who are mothers of creativity that have boutiques. If you're trying to do it, figure out them, because they are also struggling. So I just want to say thanks from Rolling Out for all those entrepreneurs, executives who are there fighting for us as a community to get some of those dollars. Thanks to the Congress people, but thanks to everybody. But I want us to say thanks to everybody who is birthing hope and blessings to those who are underserved, because it takes a whole lot to be selfless at this moment and be on the front line. So, Romeo International, we got a thanks in. That was my positive thought of the day. Very long, but I was excited about that because it's important for us to thank those who don't actually get them. People get off the bus without a thanks. They leave the doctor's office. Some people are going to be in nursing homes on Mother's Day. They will not get a day off because of the type jobs. And many people, even in the hospitality industry, are losing their jobs. Hotels are closing, and those days are back. So big thanks to all those hospitality workers and who have and don't have jobs. It is 2 minutes to close. Cass, anything? I thought your designer, Miss Rogers, was incredible. And hopefully she inspired others to check out The Alchemist and read. What do you got up for your weekend, Cass?
Nothing much. I'm definitely going to tune in into that versus battle. Definitely going to some way celebrate Mother's Day, obviously. But other than that, I'm just gonna try to get some exercise and just enjoy my weekend.
Write a note. You can write a little note, a wonderful note, a long note. You can write typically longer than usual if you wanted to. Romeo, you can write a note. I know that would definitely be new for Mom. So, write a longer note, all the things. It's two of you. I know what that is like. Often people, this is the first year for us that Dad's not going to be there. So I know for Mom, she'll be feeling some kind of way. So just be emotionally vulnerable to people during this moment in Mother's Day. Be honest. Take that moment to be selfless in how you celebrate and be different. Make a video for your mom and tell her how much you love her and send it to her phone. Those are just the sweet treats that'll make a difference for those of you thinking about how to celebrate Mother's Day. Cost you less, be on the phone, do it exercise that right. This is Rolling Out AM, and we'll see you next week. Shout out to everybody and happy Mother's Day. We love you.
Happy Mother's Day, guys.
Happy Mother's Day.
Rollingout.com.